Well, it keeps changing on me, Ethan. I keep just wanting to make the smooth transition. I had it on the half screen here, but
You'll get it,
anyways,
buddy.
let's just go take a look at this roster now after the draft. So you did a great job of giving us our two-way guys and the rest of the roster as of right now, Ethan. What are kind of your biggest questions now that the Spurs have made their selections on draft night?
Well, the most glaring one, I guess, is Lonnie Walker the fourth. What are we going to do with him? Because we drafted two guys that could potentially play his position. You have the Joshua Primo emerging. Trey Jones has emerged as that solid backup playmaker. Um, what do you do with Lonnie Walker the fourth? Is he going to get paid? Are we going to give him that restricted deal, or do we even have room for him on the roster? That's the biggest question for me because we are right now. There's 17 guys, not including the two-way players, on that depth chart. Obviously, that includes Lonnie Walker, who's technically not guaranteed at this point. That includes all the rookies. So two guys are going to have to be off that list. Who's it going to be?
So I think, looking at this, I think we're going to give Wheezy another two-way.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll have to see. I could
You
be wrong,
technically
but
don't even have to bring Wheezy back.
that's the thing too. But I think that we're gonna end up giving him another two-way because we like him
Hmm.
with Robert Woodard because we just want to keep him a part of the roster. Romeo Langford is somebody we traded for, and I think that if you give Romeo Langford some time with the Spurs, he can be a solid player. But like,
Hmm.
I don't know if the Spurs are really like valuing him like that. And maybe it's the other way around. Maybe they decide to give Romeo a two-way deal. I mean, I don't know if he may think he'd get a deal somewhere else, but maybe they choose Romeo over Wieskamp is I guess what I'm getting at.
Hmm.
But I think because they picked Wieskamp, has a consistent three-point shot, which Romeo Langford, his is non-existent. I think they'll probably roll with him and Robert Woodard. And the reason I think Robert Woodard is literally just because he was in the self reveal for the Austin Spurs jerseys with
Yeah.
Primo. And usually when they promote people like that, they keep them on the roster. So that leaves Lonnie Walker, who is left unsigned and talked to by the Spurs front office, according to Brian Wright. And then really, if you need one more guy, that probably would be Romeo Langford, huh?
Hmm. Unfortunately, yeah. Or there's that whole trade scenario that was supposed to happen on draft night that still hasn't happened. We're still shopping. I don't know if we're shopping, but we're taking calls for Jakob Pertl.
I
Apparently,
think
we were taking.
Jakob.
You really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see we didn't draft a center, which is the only thing that keeps me like hesitant to say we're trading Jakob at least immediately.
Well,
Maybe at the
I don't know if we're
deadline.
necessarily trading him, but I think we're definitely like fielding calls for
Oh
him.
yeah, oh definitely yeah. And we're also apparently fielding calls for Dejounte Murray. That seems a little less likely now because we didn't draft like a point guard. So like who we replacing him with? I guess Joshua Primo and Trey Jones elevate into that starting spot, maybe, but that seems super counterintuitive at
And
this
you look
point.
at like the reports, I don't know. I've read it a little bit more now, like with Don Harris coming out and saying it wasn't close. Like they could have been in discussions, but that doesn't necessarily mean the
Yeah,
Spurs were interested. You know what I mean? Like they
one
might have
hundred
just
percent.
been on the phone, let's do our due diligence, hear him out. And then like, okay, Hunter, two first rounders, two second rounders, and John Collins. No thanks. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
and you have to take those calls too. Like as
mm-hmm.
much as I love
Yep.
Dejounte Murray, you have to
Yep.
take those calls because you
Yep.
might get like an incredible package somewhere. And at this point, are we going to win a championship? No. So I mean, I don't want to move him, but as a general manager, you have to answer that phone. So
Yep.
Kata Bates Diop, I was thinking. I mean, he's the only other like natural four besides Jeremy Sohan, which is the only reason I would say that he is safe. Plus, Pop likes him a lot.
He's on a minimum too. Like we have a
Yeah,
minimum option for him, so it's like we could keep him and he could just not play, and he'd just be good depth at the end of the day. So yeah,
yeah, but two
I,
guys got to go. That's
hmm
it's the
that is
only
a good
thing.
point, and it'd be cheap too, and actually wouldn't lose any money because we wouldn't have to release him. We could just not accept the option.
Or technically, I guess one guy has to go if you just decide not to sign Lonnie Walker back. You know what I mean? Because he's technically not a guy you have
That's
to get rid of. You can
that
just
would be my
not bring him back.
prediction. I would say we don't sign Lonnie Walker, and then we trade Romeo Langford for like some picks, like a second round pick, or we just release him.
Hmm, I can
We
see
could
that.
do. That's the crazy thing. We're forgetting about this. How many guys did we bring into training camp last year? Like Alfred Camino was on the roster.
Yeah, that's true. We could be
So,
waiting a long time to find out.
And they could just be like, hey, let's roll with these guys, bring them into training camp. Whoever performs the best, then we'll make that decision there. And really, if you're the Spurs, because these guys aren't on big deals.
No.
But the other thing is also I think we have to accept Romeo Langford. No, we have to extend him a qualifying offer. So he actually, now that I think about it, we could just not offer him the qualifying and he could be off the roster too.
I wouldn't mind that necessarily.
So that's another one, and that would free up some space. And Zach Collins, you mentioned him. As much as it seems like he's coming back, the Spurs
Maybe
could
not.
decline his team option because it is a team option. So
Hmm.
that's another thing to keep an eye on.
Again, I think that might be less likely because we
Hmm.
didn't draft a center. Had we drafted Duran or Mark Williams, then yeah, maybe he's out. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're going to keep him too because I think we signed that contract with development in mind.
Yeah.
And also, I think they probably thought, okay, last year is going to be last year because it's his first season playing basketball in 2 years. So I think this year will really be not saying you can evaluate Zach off of last season, but I think you're going to get a better idea of like who he truly is watching him for a full year this year. And
Mm,
hey, and we'll get to see if he stays healthy or not. And then you've
true.
got one more year on that team option contract. And if you want to bring him back again, you can for just $7 million. And then if not, you can say no. So I think we'll probably bring him back and develop him for another year because I think he's just beginning to be 25. So
Yeah. Let me ask you this question, Jude. I know this is a little bit off topic, but kind
no,
of
you're
not
good.
because the depth chart's right in front of my face. So if we don't bring back Lonnie, do you play off the bench Trey Jones and Joshua Primo at the 1 and 2, or do you play Primo at that backup point and Josh Richardson gets minutes as the backup too?
I think I would play Trey Jones. Well, see, this is going to be interesting with Doug,
Hmm.
but I feel like we're just going to end up, if we don't trade him, I feel like we're going to end up playing him like we did last year.
I guess if Jeremy Sohan's not playing, then they all three play. Then it's Trey Jones, Primo, and Richardson.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that will happen regardless, just because I think that those are like the three. Like, as much as Doug is great spacing the floor, honestly, like if you look at just the tape on the Spurs last year, Trey Jones, well, Jay Rich honestly has the most tape making an
Hmm.
impact out of all of them. So I think he's going to play for sure. And then they believe in Primo, so I think he'll play the two next to Trey. Um, and yeah, that would probably be. I mean, we'll have to see. Doug might be starting, so it might be Trey Jones, Primo, Jay Rich, Keita Bates, and Zach Collins.
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
Hmm.
Unless for some reason, knocking on wood, please God, Jeremy Sohan actually gets minutes.
Yes, I would love that. And we were
That'd be,
talking about that last night. Like, if it was our choice, like starting lineup, I mean, we don't know. He's gonna make rookie mistakes, but
yeah,
starting lineup: Dejounte, Devin, Keldon, Sohan, and Jakob.
that's a
Like,
very good
just
defensive
we
lineup.
need just somebody who's 6'9" and can go get boards at the four. Like, it doesn't matter if he doesn't do
Mhm.
anything else.
We
Like,
could switch 1 through 4.
yes, exactly. Yeah,
That would be so dirty. And then
yeah.
Keldon and Devin are good enough 3-point shooters to space the floor for DJ.
Exactly. And DJ's gonna be another year better shooting the 3 too.
Oh, please,
And
please,
Sohan's not like if you leave him open, he can knock it down.
for sure. I
So
want it. I want it to happen.
I want it to happen too, Ethan. Well, any final thoughts on the way this roster is looking after the draft before we're now full blown free agency mode?
I like it. I think there's a trade coming soon.
I agree, and it may not even be like a crazy move.
No.
Like I could, crazy thing. I could see Zach Collins getting traded. I don't know why, but I could just see
Maybe.
that. But because his contract's so movable, and maybe you're just like, screw it, we're gonna run Jakob off the bench. Well, no, if you do the DeAndre sign a trade, you're probably trading Jakob.
That's true. That's
But
still apparently on the table too.
you're right, exactly. But also, I mean, maybe you just give him the restricted free agency offer. There's so many questions with all this stuff, but I think Romeo Langford, Lonnie Walker, and Wheezy, oh man, Wheezy, man,
Mm.
that those are some names to watch. But maybe even Doug too. Excuse
I
me.
think Doug could be traded.
Yes, because he's somebody who's movable, and then you can like if you just want to switch to Wheezy, like some of these other guys that you've drafted, or then if you trade Doug, you can just immediately put J Rich at the 3.
Yeah.
Um, so
And play Jeremy Sohan,
Yes, that's all we want. We just want you to play Jeremy Sohan Pop. But
please.
that's the other crazy thing. Like, do you remember when the Derek trade happened and Pop came out and he was like, "Yeah, I had to tell Derek," and he was like, "I didn't know we were trading you." So I wonder how. I mean, I feel like he's got to be involved in the draft process, but I wonder
Mhm.
like how
He
much he
called
just
him.
trust. Oh, he did. That's true. That's true. So he knows the player. Yeah, I don't know, but he probably really likes Jeremy Sochan. Now that I think about
Probably.
it. So
He's like a way better Kyle Anderson.
yes, yes, super physical, and yeah,
A
that's a
way better
really weird.
defender.
That's
He's
a odd comparison that I was not. I didn't see the similarities until you just said it.
he's a more athletic, more versatile,
More physical.
more physical Kyle Anderson. Maybe at this point, slightly worse passer, but just at this
Kyle
point,
Anderson with a little bit more Draymond in him.
yeah.